Have you ever had a mental block? You just couldn't think what was the next thing to do? Well, I'm sure we all have at one time or another just been in that place where it just seems like everything is blocked up. Well, I'm going to talk to you about how to overcome that today and this week in our Leadership to Go from Next Level Leadership. Hey, listen, if you have not subscribed or you are new, this is your first time here, please take time to subscribe and be a part of our network of leadership development. There's no cost to you, and we love the opportunity to be able to share that with you. So if you hit like, if you give us a thumbs up, or you subscribe, of course, it moves us up in Google's database and gets our information out more. And so we find that to be a very awesome thing. And so we appreciate that. So we're talking about mental blocks, dealing with mental blocks, just that moment where you're trying your hardest to think through something and you just can't see any way around it. And maybe it's just an incredibly difficult challenge that you're facing and you just feel blocked. Well, let's talk about a couple of things that are mental blocks. First of all, mental block number one, we get in a place where we think there's only one answer. We got to find the right answer. There's got to be a right answer. Well, it's wrong to believe there's only one right answer to any question. There are always other solutions. If we believe they are, then we're willing to look for them. Be willing to be a little more open-minded, and we'll find them. And one of the things that we teach in our leadership classes is that, as the Marines teach, innovate, adapt, and overcome. We have to be innovative. Innovative doesn't mean there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's just what's the right thing that's going to work for you in the circumstance or situation that you find yourself. So don't allow that to become a mental block like, oh my goodness, there's got to be we've just got to find the right answer. Somebody find the right answer. There are lots of answers that we could get to that could help us be able to solve problems that we might be dealing with. Mental block number two, that's not logical. This is just not a logical way to do things. Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. I love that. Imagination turns possibilities into reality. It's willing to take leaps that logic can't. While logic does have value, you should keep it. You should intentionally add creativity. That's one of the things I find too in our coaching sessions that we do with people is that, look, you get fatigued, you're going to have a hard time having any kind of imagination. It's just very difficult. Creativity always dissipates in an atmosphere of fatigue. And so to be creative, we have to be in those creative environments that help us to use our imagination. And that's not logical. I mean, there may not just be a logic to it step by step by step. And so we have to allow our imagination to work. One of the things that I like to teach especially when we're doing groupthink, is that, look, there is no wrong answer. There might be something that's not going to work for us, but let's be open. Let's bring the ideas to the table. Let's not just say there's only one way to be able to do that. All right, number three, mental block. We got to follow the rules. I've always loved the quote from Thomas Edison. There ain't no rules around here. We are trying to accomplish something. Boy, that's true. You start letting rules dictate everything that you're doing as you're trying to come to the right solutions. That can become a major mental block because you start telling yourself, well, we can't do that. We just can't do that. Well, we can do that. We could find ways to do that. I'm not talking about doing illegal things, but things that might stretch us a little bit beyond our comfort zone and what we're used to. Mental block number four, we have to avoid ambiguity. And this is really good. Life is complex. It's messy. It's contradictory, and it's paradoxical. Big words, right? Why in the world will we think we should or could avoid ambiguity? There is never one fixed way to understand something. Everything can be understood in more than one way. So the way I like to look at that is that sometimes we have to do a paradigm shift. We're looking at something, the pattern of something, and if we can get to the other side of it, or as I like to teach in our leadership courses, that sometimes what has to happen is we have to go from being subjective to becoming objective, where we're looking at it not necessarily under the oppression. In the subjective atmosphere, we're involved, we're emotionally involved, we are mentally involved, and that really can be a hindrance to us of being able to be able to think outside the box. So what has to happen is that we have to be a little more creative, move ourselves into a place where we are objective, looking at it from different viewpoints, different facets, different paradigms, and we call that a paradigm shift. And so, when you look at something, it's kind of like the rainbow. As they say, the rainbow is such an incredible thing because whatever angle that you're looking at it, the refractory processes of the sunlight off of the rain is different based off of your height, where you're standing on the earth. Basically, you're having your own personal rainbow every time you look at a rainbow because nobody sees it exactly like what you see. We might say, oh, look at the rainbow, but others are not going to see the rainbow the same way you do because they're not standing where you are. They're not the same height that you are. They're not experiencing the same refractory powers that you are at that particular moment. So that's mental block number 4. Mental block number 5, thinking that failure is bad. This is one I find that just really wipes out people, is when they start thinking that we can't fail. We learn in an atmosphere of failure. We learn in an atmosphere, we don't learn by our successes, we learn by our failures. We learn how to do things better. I coached basketball, girls basketball for several years, boys basketball for several years, coached in college, played in high school, played overseas in different leagues. Listen, I learned way more from our failures and losses than I ever did from our wins. When we win, we celebrate. We're not as reflective. We're not as, we just aren't thinking through the process like, how could we do that better? It's hard to get people to think better when you're winning, but it's not hard to get people to think of better ways to do things when we're losing or things aren't working out. So we have to teach people that, look, there is a culture that it's okay to fail. This culture of failure isn't one that we look at in a negative term. I feel so bad when people are in a position in their life like they feel like I just can't fail. I just can't. If I fail, it'll cost me everything. Well, there may be some circumstances where that might be true, but on average, the things that we do, we fail, we learn, we fail, we learn. We're getting that much closer. I like, Thomas Edison said, I didn't have thousands and thousands of failures. I had thousands and thousands of opportunities to show me how to get closer to the right answer. That's what happens. And so I just encourage you with that. Don't allow that to become a mental block like, oh, if I fail, everybody's going to look, people that are going to think bad about you are going to think bad about you no matter what. So don't worry about them because they're always going to be there. And if you're doing anything, you definitely are going to have them out there watching what you're doing and being critics of what you're doing. So how do I get myself into a place where I break through the mental blocks? I have to, number one, build a creative culture. Build a creative culture. Foster autonomy. George Patton said, "Never tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity." When we build a creative culture, we are giving ownership to other people to make decisions, to think through the process. And so, what we do is we encourage courage, we cause creativity, we create an atmosphere where there can be risks, that people can take risks. As a leader, we need to model it and we need to encourage it. Daniel Dennison of IMD Business School said, "There's always a premium on being able to deal with the unknown. People will venture there if they feel they'll be secure in doing it. No one's just going to step out if they think that they're going to be criticized and ridiculed. There'll be a few, but most people will not. If we give them an opportunity for safety, build a culture, creative culture, say, let's just think about how this can work. What can we do? What can we do different? Instead of just accepting the way that things are, all right? David Thoreau said, any fool can make a rule and every fool will mind it. I think that's really, wow, that's pretty powerful. So not my words. I'm just in sales, not in management. And so, but just powerful words that Thoreau said. Any fool can make a rule and every fool will mind it. So another thought that we have with this is not only to build a creative culture, but also to plan ahead and to get ourselves on a predetermined course of action, thinking ahead. Where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish? What is it that we want to see done? It's funny because sometimes when you ask this question, it really creates frustration. How will we know when we've won? I mean, how do we really know when we've won? Is it because we made more money? Is it because we have more staff? Is it because what are we basing our wins off of? What are our successes based off? You have to plan ahead for those successes because that's the only way that you'll know that you've arrived where you needed to be. So you have to think through that process of how do we know we've won? What are the things we're trying to accomplish? How do these tie into our priorities and our goals? And listen, expect problems. There's going to be problems. You make adjustments, you adjust your plan, you daily review your plans, but you are thinking ahead. This is where we want things to be taken to. Another thing that I think is really important when we're trying to get through these blockages that get in our mind and rob our creativity is that we have to place a high value on ideas. A high value on ideas. No dumb ideas. Whatever, someone comes in with an idea, let's think about that. Let's talk about how that would work. Um, I've been in organizations where the leader was the only one, the singular leader was the only one that had any ideas, and everybody else was afraid to suggest their ideas because they were kind of just knocked down, and it was just, if it wasn't the leader's idea, then it wasn't anybody's idea. Look, you have to create a culture where we're valuing ideas of people when they bring, I'm not talking about a suggestion box, but I'm saying when we're in that meeting and someone brings up an idea that we really go, well, listen, maybe we need to do some homework on that. Let's think some more about that. Harvey Firestone, he was one of the most successful businessmen of the 19th century. And in the early 20th centuries, he said this: capital isn't so important in business. Experience isn't so important. You can get both of these things. What is important is ideas. If you have ideas, you have the main asset you need, and there isn't any limit to what you can do with your business and your life. They are man's greatest asset, ideas. And I think that's so powerful that we need to have these different ideas coming to us. We're always looking at different things. Sure, we're not going to do everything. Sure, we're not even going to go probably investigate everything. But what if 20 ideas are brought to us and it's one of those ideas is the one we do, and it really helps us a lot? Isn't it worth it to hear the other 20, the other 19 ideas to get to the one that is really going to help us get through where we're at? And especially because of what it does in creating that culture of bringing people wanting to bring ideas to us. And so I just encourage you with this that, look, put a high value on ideas within what you do. Lori Greiner wrote this: "Dear optimists, pessimists, and realists," this is really great. "While you guys were busy arguing about the glass of water, I drank it. Sincerely, the opportunist." I believe. I believe in being an opportunist. Look, if it's there and we can use it and we can do it, let's go for it. Let's use every opportunity. One of the great leaders in my life, it was an opportunist. He found himself in situations and he used those situations to teach, to instruct, to guide, to lead, to reach into the hearts of men and women and to change their lives. We must be opportunists instead of just arguing about, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? So we put a high priority on creative ideas. Creative priority, Jerry Hirschberg wrote this: "No one in a corporation deliberately sets out to stifle creative thought, yet a traditional bureaucratic structure," this is what I was talking about earlier, with it has a need for predictability, linear logic, conformance to accepted norms, and the dictates of the most recent long-range vision statement is a nearly perfect idea-killing machine. Wow, that's pretty tough, isn't it? So people, what we have to do is we have to create an atmosphere where people can think outside. Listen, comfortable really isn't comfortable. Comfortable never got up before dawn. Comfortable won't get its hands dirty. Comfortable has nothing to prove. Comfortable can't get the job done. Comfortable doesn't have any new ideas. Nope, it does not. Comfortable won't dive in head first. Comfortable isn't the American dream. The American dream is built off of not being comfortable. Comfortable has no guts. Comfortable never dares to be great. Comfortable falls apart at the seams. So don't get comfortable. There's an old saying that says, don't tear down a fence until you know why it's there. Don't become comfortable with what you have. Recognize where you're at, recognize what's going on, and recognize that there are opportunities that are in front of you that you can move forward, but you're going to have to move out of your comfort zone. You'll have to move out of that comfort zone. Well, I hope this encouraged you today. Listen, if you've not subscribed to our channel, if you're new to our channel, then please take time to subscribe. That would really help out. And it lets people know that you're watching what we're doing. You can share it to your Facebook page or your YouTube account if you have one, or to Twitter or to LinkedIn. We love LinkedIn. All those opportunities that are out there that we can share. You can share this video with other people. If it's been an encouragement to you, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to it, and share it. That'd be great, and I'd really appreciate it. Well, till the next time we're together, this is Dr. Richard Jolliffe, wanting to encourage you to get to the next level in your leadership skills. Have a great week.